this is for real, that the airlines are at the brink of shutdown, and this is not a pressure tactics. But if you look at what is going on, people will want to find out. Yes, you said this is right on the at the doorsteps of the marketers. So this is not a supply problem. It's a major pricing issue, but is this also a policy failure? Because a policy is directly a system issue and a regulator problem. Because if there are the policies are intact, the marketers will not be manipulating as you have alleged.
We haven't had any information that there are short supply from the depot. That's Dangote depot this time. On the area of policy, the only way I can link that to policy is allowing some form of marketers who are irresponsible at the airport and are more of touts than racketeers, and those are the people who are creating this kind of situation. So if the regulators will be able to clean them up, in this case, I think the NCA and all that who certify the marketers, they should be able to go in and see the marketers that are creating this situation. This is a situation where they're just acting as racketeers. All right. So if they can clean them up, there are some responsible.
Gap here. Well, there's a policy gap which has allowed, giving them the leeway to be able to move the price. This notches as high as it is.
Nobody can control the price because it's a deregulated market. You either buy or you don't buy. But we have read in between the lines, and we know that occasions where this fuel are not available with the major suppliers, and we find them in the hands of all those racketeers who are there, something is fishing. All right, and we don't have the tools or anything to be able to figure out how they get those fuel. Because when you come out at first that there's no fuel, they create artificial scarcity, and then you see all the operators now rushing to get fuel, to lift the fuel and then take their passengers to their destinations.
What kind of crisis do we have on our hand if airlines shut down? What triple effect could we see in tourism, in transport, in trade, in business?
It's huge. Aviation is a catalyst. It's an enabler. It's not just a business of the elite. We've been trying to make the policymakers understand the Nigerians. And then when you talk about road transport, it attracts some sentiment, some subsidies, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to aviation, it's allowed just to attend to Israel. Shegu, we have gone through this before. The whole of that COVID era, the first sector that got support from the government of the major countries, the first ever sector was the aviation. Because they know without the aviation, the whole economy was dead. But in Nigeria, we got nothing, almost nothing. The entire ecosystem of aviation was given 4 billion naira, which was ridiculous. But you know what? We survived that. We are very resilient. But as it is today, it's a different case. We are not looking for any government grant. We are just saying, let's have the fuel at a reasonable price that we know it should be in the market, which we do get from the marketers. There are marketers who still sell at that price that is expected. But the surprise thing is that it suddenly disappears and then you go to the black market more or less. However, when aviation shuts down, the economy shuts down. When there are no movement of people and goods, it shuts down. When the aviation sector cannot pay their loan, it's highly, a financial intensive industry, the banks will suffer. And they don't want that to happen. And when the banks suffer and the aviation industry suffer, then you lay off your workers. When you lay off your workers, unemployment is a big issue. And that will also affect not only the operators, but also the marketers. So the reasonable and responsible marketers among themselves, if regulation cannot fish out those who are behind that, then they should look among themselves and then point them. We are ready also to blacklist those people from our own side. If they will come up to us and say, it's not us, it's these people, we can blacklist them amongst ourselves, because when we don't buy, they don't sell.